I'm so dramatic. What's up, ADOS and our allies? You know who it is. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Friends of ADOS TV channel. Angela Nirvana presents The Way I See It. ADOS Hot Topics and more. Follow on in, family. I know we were supposed to be doing presidential today, but I had a conversation with my comrades in the movement, and it became imperative that we divert and talk about Democratic down ballot and that strategy, and sharing with you about how if we don't put in whomever's on that ballot at the top of the ticket, we run the risk of having our ballots thrown out. That's an important conversation to have, family, because we can. What's up, Assam Powell? Thank you for joining the live. We cannot risk not having our votes counted this election cycle. It is such a critical election on so many levels. I've shared with you on past shows that Hispanics are now 56 million to our 35 million. And the Democrats have intentions on giving 11 million more of them a pathway to citizenship before making us American through reparations and a black agenda in exchange for our vote. So it's critical that we do a Democratic down ballot and gridlock government. We must do it. We must be the ones to do it. The ancestors of enslaved Africans in this country. What's up, 7Cs? I see you. Thank you for joining the live. We have no choice but to shut it down. America, as we know it, must fall. I know folks are afraid of that. So many ADOS feel like they've really come up and that they're luxuriating because they may still have their jobs. They may still have their homes, but it is disproportionate. What's up, Cody US? Thank you for joining the live. It is so disproportionate when you speak in relationship to the majority of ADOS. I've shared with you on prior shows, ADOS is $200 liquid in Los Angeles, 90% on Skid Row, 6% of the population down here in LA, 44% of the educated in LA, and only 6% of the private sector. Okay? And Kamala's Asian Indians, whom she is making a pathway for more HB1 visas to come over here for tech jobs, are $245,000 in terms of their liquidity. $245,000 to ADOS 200. African immigrants are $60,000 liquid to ADOS is 200 liquid. We on that data. Okay, that movement is on that data real tough. So, me and my comrades, some of the most brilliant minds are in this movement. You can trust and believe. We're educated professionals fighting for the people. It's near and dear to our hearts. It rips our hearts out of our chests to see us executed by the race soldiers with immunity, right? They get away with murdering us scot-free. I shared on my wall today about Daniel Prue, rest in paradise, my brother, who was literally suffocated when the cops put a spit hood over his head in March. This was before George Floyd put a knee in his chest, a knee in his back. They suffocated this brother to death back in March. And we just now finding out about it. And the chief of police want to bite his lips like he's the goddamn victim. Excuse me. I'm going to try not to cuss. I'm going to try to keep my cool. Okay, forget you heard that part. Okay? He's sitting up there wounded as he resigns. And I'm wondering where the resignation is of Miss Lovely, whatever the hell her last name. There's nothing lovely about a mayor who knows about this since August, and we just now see in the tape in September. This is all wrong. They look like us. All skin folk ain't kin folk, baby. You understand what I'm telling you? So it is imperative that we get down ballot right and understand it from the rooter to the tutor. So I've got the lovely Tansy Flakes from ADOS DMV going to help me make this case for a slight shift to what Yvette and Antonio Moore's Democratic down ballot suggests. She's going to help me make the case for why we need to fill in the Green Party at the top of the ticket and Democrats on the bottom half of the ticket. We want to deliver a Democratic Congress. And if Trump wins, we don't expect to win as a Green Party. That's not the goal here. This is strategy. We have got to weaponize the only thing we have, which is our vote. Our ancestors didn't just die for us to have the right to vote. They died for us to have the right to be American. And they felt that vote was a catalyst to accomplishing that. And it is up to their descendants to deliver on the lives they laid down to guarantee us this right to vote in 1965. Okay? And they don't intend for us, with our education, that they died for us to have, to put our intellect in the trunk. So me and my comrades molded over, and this is the most sound and effective way to gridlock government for another 4 years. And prayerfully, it will incite the Democrats to give us the reparations come 2024 and have it be running on the platforms. We got to do something, family. Introducing Tansy Flakes. Stand by. I'm bringing her up. Hi, Tansy.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for joining the live.
Yes, ma'am.
What's up, JP Williams? Thank you for joining the live. Yes, family, this is one that you're going to want to share. I will be sharing it back to back to back. It's going to be a short show. I'm going to do my presidents tomorrow, and I mean, I've got to drag Andrew Jackson. He was abominable. Oh my God, what I'm learning in Prejudential about Andrew Jackson is going to make your hair stand on your head. You're going to literally want to go into his grave and bring his ass up to beat him. You hear me? That's how hot I am behind what I just read a snippet of Andrew Jackson. We'll get into that tomorrow, but this is an emergency show to discuss Democratic down ballot so you will be clear about the directive this upcoming election cycle. Tansy, did you want to jump in and share your perspective on why we need to vote Green Party top of the ticket and Democratic down ballot? I know you have some stats to share with us. Could you please just share? I've already shared why I believe it's important. We're outnumbered. Mm-hmm. I know that people are not that concerned because they say, oh, the Hispanics don't vote proportionate to what we do. And right now, the fight is for the immigrant vote. Mm-hmm. The fight is to get them more access to citizenship before making us American. And that's who the Democrats are really gunning for. So they're offering them everything in the kitchen sink within their first 100 days. Unlike us, they have a lot of patronizing things that they're offering on Joe Biden's platform, but no timelines, and it just has no real teeth in it, right? So right. I am real clear that this is the last election cycle we're going to really have to weaponize that vote and to gridlock government until we have an opportunity to force the hand of the Democrats to give us what we demand in exchange for our vote. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, ma'am. So like you said, if we don't do this Democratic down ballot or just the down ballot portion of the voting process correctly, then our votes will not count. So we, in essence, will cause voter suppression of ourselves. So what I want to do is make sure that people understand that not every state allows you to have just write-in ballots. Because I know we're saying we're going to write in ADOS or whatever, write your name in. Not every state will allow you to do that. Some states have restrictions that have that you can write in under these circumstances. Some states don't allow any of it. And let me tell you, if your state doesn't allow any of it, I don't care how many times you think that you're going to write it in and vote for your down ballot in your local and your state. They're going to throw the whole ballot out. And the same thing goes for those states that are restricted. If they have restrictions and your ballot isn't in accordance with those restrictions, your entire ballot will be tossed out. So you're screwing yourself on so many levels. So let me go over the states that will allow you to have write-in. And that's these states will allow you to have write-ins. They don't have any rules about the write-in process. You can just write in whoever you want. That is Alabama, the District of Columbia, Iowa, Mississippi, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wyoming, and also the state of Maryland. These states allow you to just write in whatever, just write in whoever you want to have in there.
Okay, can you run those states? I'm going to type them. Could you go a little more slowly? The
Okay.
ones that allow the write-in where you can put in ADOS and your ballot will not be thrown out. Where can we do that again?
Alabama, the District of Columbia, Iowa, Mississippi, New Hampshire.
Hold on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
New Jersey, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Wyoming, and Maryland. So if you live in those states, you will be able to write in, Bugs Bunny if you want to, and that will be okay. Your down ballot portion will not be disqualified. Your whole ballot will be okay because they will allow write-ins without any kind of restrictions. It's just write it in. Now, these states don't allow write-ins at all. They are what's called a never state. If you look it up on Wikipedia, they have a whole list of all the states, the dates that they have for you to write them, for you to qualify, and all the restrictions. They have all the rules there on that Wikipedia page. But these are called never states. And your never states are Arkansas, Hawaii, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and South Dakota. So don't forget, those states will not allow you to write in anybody. They only want you to mark what's on that ballot. If you don't, they will throw your ballot away, that entire ballot. So you have to follow those rules in those states. And if you've noticed, some of those states are swing states. Those states are pivotal states that, like South Carolina, New Mexico, Louisiana is a red state. Arkansas. These are states that, and Hawaii. These are states that both parties absolutely need so that they can win that ticket.
Okay, let me ask you, if Green Party isn't on the ballot, what do they, and they're in a state where it's never to write in.
If Green,
Go ahead.
if if Green Party is not on that ballot and you're in a never write-in state, then your choice will be between the two people that are actually on the ballot. Those would be your two choices. So if you don't have a candidate to vote for, then you can leave that portion of it blank if you choose not to vote for either one. But don't write anything in, or your entire ballot will be thrown out if you are in a never state.
I'm writing that down just a second. If you're in a never state and Green Party is not an option, leave it blank.
Mm-hmm. You just choose not to vote for that particular portion of your ballot. Your ballot will still be good as long as you follow the rules of the ballot.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Now you
Go ahead.
one more section. Now you have states that have restrictions, and sometimes those restrictions will be things like a candidate. You can write in the write-in candidate if a candidate dies or resigns or withdraws or something to that effect. You have to look and see if your state has those type of rules, because each state will have a different rule or restriction that allows you to write in or not. So and there are a multitude of rules. I don't want to read through all of them. So if I didn't mention the state that you live in, then you might want to go and research your state and find out, okay, my state allows write-ins, but under certain circumstances. What are those circumstances? And you can find this information out on, I want to make sure I got the right one, USA.gov. There's actually there are a few websites out there that will give you this information, but I'll take the link and put it in the chat. But USA.gov will give you this information.
Thank you so much for that. I also wanted to help the listeners, the viewers, understand about how ballots are disappeared, okay, in trucks, all kind of things. And I wanted to refer to an article from Real Clear Politics, where it states that 28 million mail-in ballots went missing in the last 4 elections. 28 million ballots. Now, we already know that the Republicans do everything in their power to suppress our vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to stress that we need our protest vote to matter this election cycle. So, yes, we believe in democratic down ballot, but it's very vital that you understand that if you write in ADOS in a never state, it doesn't matter. It will not count. They'll throw the entire ballot away. So we're trying to share with you all the ways that the country, the government in particular, is already trying to suppress the vote. And ADOS is not encouraging any one of us to stay home this election cycle and just throw your hands up. Okay, we've got about 42% of ADOS that rely on government assistance due to institutional systemic racism. So when we talk about a democratic down ballot strategy and Green Party or anyone else at the top of the ticket, we don't expect the Green Party to win this election cycle at all. But our goal is to help them get between, we really want to go for 10% since they need 5% in order to be on every ballot the next time around. Okay, we're vetting the Green Party very closely. We are fully aware that the Democrats are working for Republicans and they're working for immigrants. They clearly do not care about ADOS, and they have not done so in the last 55 years. The boomers made some strides with affirmative action and buying homes and things of this nature, but the bottom fell out of that fight. And so Gen Xers and millennials are in the fight of their lives for just survival. And we're fighting alongside them to ensure we're not the permanent underclass, the permanent bottom caste in the country our ancestors built with their lives. That's what the ADOS movement is working to circumvent. And when we look at the data, the numbers, we realize that this is the last election cycle to make that kind of impact. Given the numbers, you can look it up yourself to see how we're already out. I mean, there are 1.5 times more Hispanics than there are American descendants of chattel slavery in this country. You can look that up for yourself. But we look at the numbers, we look at the data, and we realize we cannot be haphazard with not showing up to the polls. We must do so in record Obama-style numbers, akin to the last election cycle. And B, we can't run the risk of suppressing our vote by foolishly writing in ADOS in places where it could get the entire ballot thrown out. Our 42% ADOS who rely on government assistance is depending on us to get this right. So we need to show up and get it right. Hence why this emergency show to share with you about the importance of gridlocking government until prayerfully they'll come to the census, to their census in 2024 and run their platforms on reparations and a Black agenda. In the meantime, we're vetting the Green Party very closely to determine if that's a direction for the ADOS movement to get behind and fully support, because our time is up with the Democrats. 55 years as their mules, and we're down to George Floyd, 846 to the neck, Breonna Taylor, eight shots to the body while in bed, Ahmaud Arbery for being executed, jogging while Black, Daniel Prude being suffocated to death on the street while naked from a psychotic breakdown, Elijah McClain, who was executed while walking home from a tea run. Who else about Jacob Blake, shot 7 times in the back in front of 3 of his 6 children. You get where I'm going with this. If the lesser of two evil was working for ADOS, the ADOS movement would fully support that. But it clearly isn't working if we're in 2020 and I just read you a fraction of what is happening to ADOS in this country that our ancestors built with their lives. So we need every ADOS and ally at the poll invoking Green Party top of the ticket and Democratic down ballot. Green Party, wherever you have it in your states, or leave it blank if you're in a never state. Look up your state's specifics on write-in ballots and tread accordingly. We need everyone to be fully tuned in. I want to read a little bit of this Real Clear Politics, and I'll kick it back to Tansy, and we'll close out the show with a little covering, okay? Between 2012 and 2018, 28.3 million mail-in ballots remain unaccounted for, according to data from the Federal Election Assistance Commission. The missing ballots amount to nearly 1 in 5 of all absentee ballots and ballots mailed to voters residing in states that do elections exclusively by mail, me speaking. This is why it's imperative in a pandemic to get your votes in early. Early voting starts, I think in Maryland, Tansy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, late this month.
I have to look that up to make sure. I want to give you the exact date, so let me look it up real fast.
Okay. So understand when your early voting is, and because it's a pandemic, I don't want you guys, risking your lives standing online the day of the elections. I can tell you now, my primary had me online for 3.5 hours for the primary. So when you talk about disappearing ballots or ballots that weren't counted because they came in late, we don't want to be amongst that group. States and local authorities, back to the text, simply have no idea what happened to these ballots since they were mailed. And the figure of 28 million missing ballots is likely even higher because some areas in the country, notably Chicago, did not respond to the federal agency's survey questions. This figure does not include ballots that were spoiled, undeliverable, or came back for any reason. Although there is no evidence, me speaking, you need to find out where you can drop off your ballots in your state. Don't even risk the mail. Find out where you can drop your ballots in your respective states, cities. Okay, don't mail it. Although there is no evidence that the millions of missing ballots were used fraudulently, the Public Interest Legal Foundation, which compiled the public data provided from the Election Assistance Commission, says that the sheer volume of them raises serious doubts about election security. Don't trust the mail right now. I know Donald Trump is tampering with the mail. The Postmaster General, I hadn't seen my mail for a few weeks out here in California. It's back now, but there's a lot of mayhem going on with the mail. You want to find your nearest election station to where you can drop it off so you don't have to stand online, and do it early so it will be counted. These questions are particularly relevant as the COVID-19 pandemic is forcing states across the country to rapidly expand vote by mail operations in an election year. Democratic Senators Amy Klobuchar and Ron Wyden have proposed the Natural Disaster and Emergency Ballot Action of 2020, a bill that would allow every eligible voter the opportunity to vote by mail regardless of state laws governing mail-in ballots. A significant increase in mail-in voting this fall could greatly incentivize ballot harvesting, where third parties collect mail-in ballots on behalf of voters and deliver them to election officials. There's long been a consensus that such a practice incentivizes fraud, and ballot harvesting is illegal in most of the country. Public debate over the issue has intensified in recent years after a GOP operative in North Carolina was indicted for crimes related to ballot harvesting in 2018. That same election cycle, California legalized ballot harvesting. And observers say the practice played a key role in ousting several Republican congressmen in Orange County in 2018, a longstanding GOP stronghold in a state that has become very liberal in recent decades. The fact that millions of unused mail-in ballots are floating around in every election cycle is not a secret type data here. It's sitting there on the internet and you're paying for the server cost, notes Logan Churchwell, a spokesman for PLIF. So what do people that really focus on the election process do about that? They go into ballot harvesting. There's so many ballots out there in the wind unaccounted for by election officials. Surely some manpower could be dedicated to go bring them in. And that's another part of the system where you have weaknesses and risk. To illustrate the risk, Churchwell notes that in 2016, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by garnering over 2.8 million more votes than Donald Trump. The nearly 6 million unaccounted mail-in ballots were never counted in 2016, more than twice her margin in the popular vote. The potential to affect elections by chasing down unused mail-in ballots and make sure they get counted using methods that may or may not be legal is great. There's little doubt that as the number of mail-in ballots increases, so does fraud. A 2012 report in the New York Times noted that the voter fraud involving, sorry guys, it jumped on me, involving mail-in ballots is vastly more prevalent than the in-person voting fraud that has attracted far more attention, election administrators say. In Florida, absentee ballot scandals seem to arrive like clockwork around election time. According to a Wall Street Journal report on voter exploitation in Hispanic communities in Texas, mail-in ballots have spawned a mini industry of consultants who get out the absentee ballot, sometimes using questionable techniques. Poor elderly and minority communities are most likely to be preyed upon by the so-called ballot brokers. Concerns about fraud and mail-in ballots were serious enough that a 2008 report produced by the Caltech MIT Voting Technology Project recommended that states restrict or abolish on-demand absentee voting in favor of in-person early voting. The convenience that on-demand absentee produces is bought at a significant cost to the real and perceived integrity of the voting process, the report added. On the face of it, early voting can provide nearly equal convenience with significantly greater controls against fraud and coercion. Similarly, another academic study done in 2008 from Reed College flagged various concerns related to absentee voting and conceded there's a great deal of literature on turnout, but when it comes to mail-in ballots, there is a dearth of research on campaign effects, election costs, ballot quality, and the risk of fraud. Despite these concerns, 5 states, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Utah, and Hawaii, now do all elections exclusively by mail. Supporters point to smooth elections in these states as proof that it works, but PILF obtained voter data from Oregon, the first state to adopt voting by mail exclusively for the 2012 and 2018 elections, and checked it against census data. Of the 7 million ballots the state sent out in those 2 elections, some 871,000 ballots are totally unaccounted for. Losing only 1 of 8 ballots as opposed to the national average of 1 in 5 may be the result of Oregon having a more accurate listing of voters' addresses than many other states, but that's still a very high percentage of missing ballots, and Oregon would not reveal its data for the 2014 and 2016 elections for reasons the state would not disclose. Okay, I'm almost done, family. Just bear with me. I have to read this. Regardless, U.S. Census data confirms that 11% of Americans more every year, and voters on the lower end of the economic scale are especially transient. Without implementing some extensive and likely problematic government surveillance program, there's no way for election administrators to reliably get ballots to tens of millions of Americans every election cycle without a large percentage of ballots going to the wrong address. This problem is compounded by states that mail ballots automatically. The author of this piece is from Oregon, where ballots with his name on them were sent to his parents' address for years after he graduated from college and moved out of state, despite repeated contacts with the county clerk telling them he had moved. The inherent problems of mail-in voting are being widely ignored, however. Use of mail-in ballots more than doubled from 24.9 million in 2004 to 57.2 million in 2016, and around 40% of U.S. votes are now done by mail. Along with this dramatic increase, there have been virtually no new safeguards, scrutiny, or additional research on the risk of vote by mail. If the current pandemic is going to force the issue during a presidential election, proponents of voting by mail may have to address obvious risks that come with proposing that more than 200 million ballots be mailed out this fall. I really think the only reason vote by mail problems are not getting more attention on a regular basis is that it's kind of an embarrassing problem and people just aren't paying attention, says Churchwell. These numbers of missing ballots demonstrate large voter list maintenance failures and security gaps within the broader mail voting process. Okay, family, it's imperative that we find our polling stations and drop our ballots there. Tansy, did you have any thoughts before I close out the show? Oh, yes, I can provide a link for what I just. Hi, Thomas. Welcome to the live. Go ahead, Tansy. Did you have any thoughts?
Yes, ma'am. So, what I want to say is, as far as for the state of Maryland, I can speak for Maryland. In the state of Maryland, we have drop boxes on the day of election. You have to find out where your Board of Elections office is and where your polling station is. For early voting, write-in ballot, for just for your mail-in ballots, if you want to drop it off the day of, you can do that. They will have ballot boxes for you to drive-through ballot boxes. You just drive through, drop it off, and that's it. It is very, very quick. At least here in our county, it is. It's been like that for, I don't know, as long as I've been out here, for a couple of years. That's how I've been doing it. So we won't have to wait in all of those long lines. This was even before COVID. Also, what I want to say is, make sure that if you're going to be using dropping off your ballots and doing it that way instead of actually going in there to the polling station, make sure that you sign your ballots in all of the places that they want you to sign your ballots, because there's a place for you to actually sign inside the ballot on the actual ballot. Sometimes it's according to your state, but go in there, look. If they ask you to sign at the bottom of your form, sign it. On your actual envelope, sign that. That's the way that they throw away your ballot if you don't sign in all of the spots. So make sure you read over your ballot according to whatever state you're in. Sign everything they tell you to sign. Date everything they tell you to date. Make sure that your signature matches whatever that signature that you used on your actual card, your voter registration card. Try your best to make sure that your signatures match. That's another way that they throw away your ballot. You can do all the things right, but these little things that they say are to ensure that our ballot is valid, they use these very same things to destroy our ballot. So make sure that you cross all of your T's, dot all of your I's. I know it's additional work, but that's what we're going to have to do to ensure that we do have our voices heard. And also, if you got to call them people once every week, once every 2 weeks to make sure your name is on the roll, do that. Because my name was taken off the roll 3 times in this last election. And if it had not been for the fact that I lost my wallet, I would not have known. I lost my wallet. I had to get a new ID card, a new driver's license. I found out my name wasn't on the voter registration roll. Then I moved, had to change it, found out that my name had been removed yet again from the voter registration roll. So make sure that you have your name is on that voter registration roll. If you have to call back over and over again to ensure, I'm telling you, I had to do it 3 times in this last election. So please ensure that you cross all of your all of your T's and dot all of your I's, because they're using every excuse that they can to throw out your ballot.
And thank you for all of that. If anyone else has any insight on ways that they're working to suppress our vote, please type it in the chat and I'll read your comments now, pretty much. I just want to stress that today's show is about how to make our votes count. And it is imperative, because we've been saying write-in ADOS without being specific, that it could run the risk of our ballots being thrown out if we write in ADOS in states where they never allow write-in. You need to leave that blank or put in Green Party if they are an option there. The goal, like I said, is to get Green Party to 5%, so they'll be on every ballot, and we're going to vet them to see if that's a home for us, because we need a new place to go. Democrats has not been doing it for us. I read here where 7C says, I've been saying the same thing, sis, but so many are scared to turn it upside down. Well, I know that many are scared, but what I'm more afraid of is the extinction of ADOS. I ran down to you that we're $200 liquid in LA, $8 liquid in Boston, and $11 liquid in Miami. And no one can share with me, other than that Trump is a racist and says mean things, how he's been more egregious to us than Joe Biden, the author of the 94 crime bill, where we have close to 1 million Black men on lockdown, half of which, I don't know the percentage, but quite a few are there for nonviolent offenses that can't afford bail and can't afford proper representation. That is due to Joe Biden's 94 crime bill. I've had a show about that already. And then, of course, Cali's top cop, Kamala. They're talking a good game now, but what they're offering is just pandering for the vote. They're not offering dismantling private prisons, nor are they offering dismantling qualified immunity. So until you can no longer turn a profit on the back of the new slave, our prisoners, our brothers, and until you can hold these race soldiers accountable for the executions of Black men and women and children all throughout the country, you're not really saying anything to me about real reform. Okay? You're just paying lip service because you want my vote. I don't want to hear from you about all the maladies that inflict us as a people, Kamala. I don't need to hear from you about that. I've got your record that shows you don't give a damn about ADOS. And it was out here. We know firsthand. Rest in paradise, Mitrice Richardson. We know firsthand the brothers that the governor told you when you were AG to let free, okay, for nonviolent offenses because the jails were overcrowded, and you told him that you need them to put out white fires of white homes in the hills for $2 a day. We don't forget down here in SoCal and in California at large about your horrific record against ADOS, and yours too, segregation, Jim Crow, Joe Biden. Y'all can play nice all you want to, but the only difference between your racist and Trump's racist is that you're more polite about it. He's more in the face about it. So I don't see Trump rushing to replace us with immigrants. You guys will never accept the fact that these immigrants taking over this country before we are made American is problematic. You don't get the correlation between our dire state in our economics and that of the immigrants who are faring far better than us. I shared with you that we're 200 liquid here to Kamala's Asian Indians, $245,000 liquid. And we made Cotton King to the tune of $42 trillion. I've shared with you that white folks in this country share 100 trillion household dollars to the ADOS. 90% of Blacks in this country are ADOS. We share about 700 billion between us. And we created the profits that they are now reaping the return on that investment. And under Obama's term, he created 1 million white millionaires while telling us no to reparations. So I get it, 7 C's, that folks are afraid to turn it upside down, not the ADOS movement. We're here for burning it all the way to the ground. We're numb, and we've got a people to save. And the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. Cody US, thank you for joining the live. Slavery is 400 years ago. Yeah, and we're still enslaved. You're enslaved if you don't have access to be American. That's healthcare, education, that's housing, that's lending for businesses, that's private prisons, that's the military-industrial complex. Okay, so we're still enslaved. It's not enough for us unicorns to be free while the rest of us are enslaved in one form or another. We're dying disproportionately from COVID because of lack of health care. My nephew, God bless him, he was able to see his 31st birthday. Why? He had insurance and a smart mother who screamed on the doctors on the Black side of town who did not want to give him a COVID test, finally relented and told him to go somewhere and, just quarantine. He's got the COVID, and you tell him to go quarantine for 14 days. She had the wherewithal to take him to the white side of town. They had to admit him immediately, and they administered 5 days straight of remdesivir that saved his life. You know what that cost? $5,000 a shot. That's why ADOS is dying disproportionately from the COVID. Okay? 55 years, 60 years of voting as the mules of the Democratic Party. There's nothing scarier than the new enslavement. of ADOS people in the country their ancestors built with their lives. Tear it down, burn it to the ground. There'll be casualties, but oh well. If the Democrats win, let me tell you who the only casualty will continue to be. ADOS. Because we were the casualties under Obama and all of the presidents that preceded him. Everybody else will be comfortable. I like company in my misery. You may think that's harsh, but I don't mind it. How dare you think it's okay for us to be the only group tethered to the bottom as the bottom caste in this country while everybody else comes up on the back of our chattel slave labor? Tansy, do you want to add something to that?
Yes, ma'am. Since this COVID-19 thing has started, the thing that they are saying is we are in this together. We're all in this together. And it doesn't look that way. It doesn't seem that way to me. It seemed like everybody needed to pitch in. It was all hands on deck whenever they started dying, whenever they started being the ones that were impacted, whenever their church's money was being messed with. Then all of a sudden it was everybody needs to have all hands on deck, wear your mask, we all in this together, pitch in where you can. You know, it was a collective effort. But for the last, like you said, 50, 60, some odd years, that now 400 years, excuse me, but more modern times, since 50, 60, 70 years, we have been the shoes that they ran this race in. And now that the shoes have holes in them, they want to throw the shoes away. Go buy some new shoes, you know, and the
shoes that they created through institutional systemic racism.
Exactly.
You create the holes, you create the climate. And I recently shared on one of my shows how Joe Biden virtually said, I don't give a damn how you got tethered to the bottom, lock them up.
That's exactly what he said. That's what he said. He said, my mama, my kids, my wife. I don't care how they got messed up. I don't care what happened and to cause you to be the way that you are. You got to go to jail forever away from my family so that we could be okay. We'll worry about you once we get you locked up and we'll figure out what to do with that. But they already figured out what to do. They got the 14th Amendment. That's what they gonna do.
Explain that to my audience who doesn't know how that relates.
You know, well, as long
I thought it was the 13th Amendment.
I'm sorry, the 13th Amendment. Slavery is permitted through imprisonment. So as long as we figured you out, that was the reason why we had to lock you up, so that we can keep you enslaved. That's just, they won't let us do slavery no other kind of way. So we got to do it this way. And we are the spoils. We are the spoils of the Democratic Party. We are the spoils of the Republican Party. It doesn't matter who wins, who loses. Either we go be spent up real fast through the Republicans, or it's going to be a slow death with the Democrats. But I'm tired of dying. I'm tired of dying. And when people say stuff like, well, we could just get them in and we can work it out once we get there. They was in for 8 years.
How did that work under Obama?
How did it work under Clinton?
We're still waiting for Obama to do something for ADOS.
You know, let me ask you a question. Remember when Clinton left the White House? Now, I was a kid. I was real young, a baby, basically. So, yeah, I was in grade school whenever Clinton was in. I didn't know anything about politics. But I do remember when he got out of office, we had a surplus. Who signed that crime bill?
Clinton.
When did we have a surplus?
During his era.
And it was because of Clinton that we had a surplus. And I would like to suggest that it was because of Clinton's signing of the crime bill that we had that surplus, because it was that crime bill that gave them the natural resources of our Black bodies so that they could create that overflow and surplus of money. So, yeah, we can sit up here and act like, oh, we go play nice with each other right now and go ahead and put Biden in office because, you know, he's better than Massa Trump. But let me tell you, Massa Biden ain't no better. Massa Biden is the reason why we ended up with a Massa Trump.
Come on.
You know, so I'm tired of these Massas. I'm tired. I'm ready to do like my ancestor, Bash Reeves did. and grab the lash. It's time to grab the lash instead of taking them lashes. I'm tired of taking L's. I'm tired of taking lashes. I'm tired of my people dying. And now we have an opportunity to do something about it. When Black women had the stage, whoever these Black women were that was in the ear of those who were in charge, they asked for bragging rights. They asked for another reason to do it, make up a new dance and do a new song, and all of this is stuff by getting a so say Black woman to be the VP. Well, we got a Black woman to be the VP. They put Kamala in there, and she told us I ain't gonna do nothing for y'all specifically, but I'm gonna do specific stuff for other people, and it'll help you guys. It'll help you guys, right?
That
Right?
trickle down theory.
Yeah, the trickle down. Trickle down
That has
won't
never
work.
worked.
It's never worked. It's a stalling process. The same thing, but voting for her is a stalling process. I say instead of giving the milk away for free, why don't we ask them how much you gonna pay for this milk? Because we've been giving y'all the milk for free for years. 60 to 70 years and not getting anything back. We ain't even got a chance to eat none of the cereal, have no pieces of the cake. We've been getting crumbs and we still ain't had a loaf of bread yet. So I'm tired of all of that. I don't want bragging rights no more. I don't want to be able to say my president is Black, my vice president is Black. They look like me. Yeah, they look like me, but all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So I don't care how much you look like me. You ain't me, and you don't have to live my life. If what push come to shove, she can get on a plane and go right back over there to India and be nice and cushy because her family come from wealth. So she won't have nothing to worry about over there in India. Or she can go run back to Canada where she was living at from her grade school years and be okay, because I'm pretty sure she's set up over there too. But I don't have another place to run. I don't have a Jamaica to run to. I don't have another India to run to. All I got is here, America to run to. And America made sure that by disconnecting me from where I come from and where my ancestors came from. So guess what? We here now. Y'all got to deal with us. And bottom cast just ain't go do it. So either you go give me the same rights that you give everybody else and the same opportunities without the hesitations and without all of the restrictions and caveats that you always put on us as Black people in this country, or we all in this together. We go socialize some of this failure.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm here for that. I'm here for it because guess what? If I'm just like what President Obama said, he said we got to help them because they're not used to struggling like that. Well, guess what? We're going to have to help y'all learn how to struggle because we all go struggle. If my people got to struggle and we ain't but 14% of this population, then we all got to struggle. COVID-19 that came through and made sure that everybody is on equal footing. If I can't work, can't nobody work. If I can't get health care, can't nobody get health care because we all in this together. So it's going to either be one way or the other. Either we all going to succeed or we all going to fail because we are only as strong as our weakest link. And right now, we looking mighty weak. So either you going to live up to the we all in this together or it's going to be some problems. And I'm not saying that Black people gonna go out here and start doing some violence because Black people have never been the ones that go out here and do violence because we're doing bad. But I know who has. Your white compadres. White people don't struggle too good. And as you can tell, when they can't get their haircuts and they can't go to the golf course and go to the bars and go to the beauty shops and go to the dentist or wherever it is that they like to go because they free to go do so, they tear stuff up. And they've been tearing stuff up all up and down the street. They become anarchists. Black people ain't never become no anarchists. We ain't never did this without being rightfully provoked or without it being set up for us to just walk on in and take what we want. But we just don't break into places and start looting and rioting and whatnot. It's never been like that for us, no matter what. But white people do that. And that's the only reason why this attention has been given the way it is now, is because white people have filled the streets. White people have started looting. White people have started burning down these fancy stores. Ain't nobody black burning down a fancy store. We too busy in there trying to get stuff because we hungry.
Thank
But
you.
white people are the ones that's doing this stuff. And then they pointing the finger at us, talking about it's us, even though the white people are on film. White people shooting each other in the street right now because of what's going on. Black people ain't shooting each other in the street. We holding up signs saying, stop kill us. Stop killing us. So white people are the ones that's gonna run inside your building, the government building like they did at the Bundy Ranch, and capture government buildings. White people are going to be the ones that's going into these churches, shooting up people, and going into the Walmarts, shooting up people. These are white people doing this. So they might want to start listening, because whenever you help black people get their life right, it will undoubtedly help the white people. And then the white people won't tear up this country, because it's white people that's tearing this country up, not black people.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Tansy. The bottom line is we don't need equality. We need advantage. We're not looking for equality, and class-based policies don't fix race. When you lift everybody up, where is ADOS? Still on the bottom. That's why we need advantage, because we built all the wealth you see in this country, and white folks can take to the streets and burn things down and do all manner of things. Why? They got health care. They got nothing but time and health care. They've been on these beaches. I don't care how many policies were in place out here in California. They've been luxuriating on the beaches like a vacation during COVID, while black folks are struggling to hold on to their jobs if they still have them.
Because we're the ones that's doing all the service for them.
Exactly. Exactly. By design, institutional systemic racism. Let me read through so I can get us out of here. 7C says it's state-sanctioned genocide. You're absolutely right. Where else can I follow you, sister? What platforms? Well, I'm on YouTube, Friends of ADOS TV, Periscope, Friends of ADOS TV, Facebook, Angela Nirvana, Friends of ADOS TV, Twitter, A Nirvana 2, the number 2. Instagram. I'm not really in Instagram and Twitter like that. I'm really a Facebooker. But yes, please do follow me. I'll type some of that in later. Asan told you hi, Tansy. Asan says, true, Andrew Jackson was dreadful. We must protect our vote. Please check your state board of elections before altering the ballot. Please check your state board. I'm going to put that up here. Please check your, I'm going to put that up there for a minute. Okay, please check. We must protect our vote, family. Please check your state board of elections before altering the ballot. That is the best advice of the evening. Okay, so let me scroll down. Malika Shirk, welcome to the live, love. I'm doing GP top ticket dim down ballot. Thank you, Malika. Pretty Muslima. Thank you so much for joining the live. Thank you for being a keyboard warrior and typing that in for me, as well as you, Asan. I appreciate the help, family. Being my moderators out there. I love you guys, Black and Strong. Are you guys still live right this second? Yes, we are. I hope you can see us pretty. Okay, let's see here. Scrolling down. Hey, Georgia Watts, this is a very important information. Thank you so much. We agree. That's why I had to drop the presidential. I'll pick that back up tomorrow at 6. That'll probably be, I hope it's a short show. God knows. I keep trying, y'all. But lots to talk about. The stakes are extremely high. Okay, I'm dropping down through my comments. Yep, it's like we have 50 different countries, aka states. Yeah, pretty Muslima. You're absolutely right. You must know the rules of the road so your vote will count. Asan says, leave your ballot blank if you're in a never state and Green Party is not on the ballot and you don't want to cast a vote for a candidate. Absolutely. She reiterated what I typed. If you're in a never state, don't write in ADOS. They'll throw it out. What's up, Trey Lincoln? Thank you for joining the live. Trey says, hi, Tansy. You can get the info from USA.gov to verify what your state laws are. Okay. Jay Bird, how you doing? He says hello to both you and I. Welcome to the live. Eddie Carswell, thank you for joining the live. Eric Brown, is there a strategy? Is there a strategy or push to encourage in-person voting? Well, you know, given the pandemic, Eric Brown, thank you. This is my brother out of New York. He transcended COVID. God bless you, brother, for being in the live. There is not really a strategy or a push to encourage in-person voting. The push is more for staying safe during this pandemic. The numbers are off the Richter scale. I'm not going to get into whether or not I believe the numbers are all COVID deaths. I personally don't. That's a whole nother show that I'm not even going to engage. So it's not coming. We're encouraging that you find your polling stations and do a drive-by versus mail-in. Okay. That's what we're encouraging. And make sure you know all the rules of the road with your ballot before you fill it in. Make sure it's signed before you turn it in.
Make
So
sure
much for this. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, make sure if you're in the state of New York, because they don't do a whole lot of driving out there, you need to plan your vote. Make a plan for voting now, because God knows what's gonna happen by the time November comes. So find out where your polling stations are, find out where your voter elections office is, well, however your in particular environmental situation is, because some cities are more built up and made for pedestrians than others. And so plan your vote and look it up, because if you don't, it's going to be a shocker the day of. And I'm telling you, that's not what you want. You don't want to be in those lines. I saw them on television and it's horrible. Plan your vote now.
Especially in the heat, if it continues the way it's been.
It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be November.
Oh, November. Okay.
But and it's already snowing in Colorado. So who knows what this weather is going to do by the time November comes. It usually gets cold after Halloween. So plan your vote now, because you do not want to be standing out there in the cold during COVID.
Amen. So, Eric, that's our answer to that. Just understand that this is a critical election cycle for ADOS and our allies. We need every vote to count. Please be as meticulous as this video is suggesting. And as San just said, we must share this information. We have to inform the ADOS community how important it is to know their state election laws before people go to the polls and write it in. So I think I've got right now about 46 of you guys in the box. Please share this vid, okay? Make it go viral. I will be running and do watch parties daily if you're over in Facebook. I will be running this every day up and through into election. I don't have a choice. I've got to get the word out to my family, my ADOS family, that is, the movement and the lineage for those who are on the fence. Our fence riders, this is a solution. We must break the back of the establishment. This election cycle will be the last one that it matters, because the Hispanics are getting more and more educated on the vote. And, they're giving them the farm. They're giving immigrants the farm. Kamala H-1B visas for Brahmin Indians to come over here for tech jobs. And they're giving a pathway to citizenship to 11 more million Hispanics on top of the 56 million to our 35 million that are already here. And if the Democrats win, sadly, ADOS will be the only one suffering still. And it's imperative that we show them that we can weaponize our vote. And the same, they're weaponizing the Democratic Party against ADOS. We have to do it. I know it's uncomfortable for us with Trump, but no more uncomfortable than it's been prior to Trump.
The only difference that's been going on between now and then is that now white people are dying.
Yeah, but not in the same numbers.
Not in the same numbers, but they wasn't dying at all when it came down for Black people. Now you have white people dying, and they're trying to make all of this stuff about Black Lives Matter. They're trying to put all of that on us. And when we find out who is the one out there doing these crimes, burning down these businesses, doing all of this arson, it's not even us. It's other people, it's agitators, it's infiltrators that are coming over and they're starting all of this trouble when we're out there trying to peacefully protest. And we can't sit around here and just let that kind of stuff happen. We have to call it out when we see it. And it's nothing against Hispanics and all of these other
No.
people. That's great. Great. I want you to have your pathway to citizenship. But oh, by the way, your pathway to citizenship should not be at the expense of me. We all in this together, remember?
Yeah.
We all in this together. So if we got to take some off our plate so that y'all can eat, then guess who else got to take stuff off their plate? Everybody else got to take stuff off their plate so y'all can eat. It ain't gonna be just our plate that's gonna be shared. And that's the problem. They have weaponized immigration and immigrants against ADOS, against the descendants of slavery. And they've been doing that since the beginning of this country. And it's time for it to stop. This has got to be the last generation. This has got to be. No more.
Well, we're not going to survive it if it continues at this rate. And they're doing it to deny us our justice claim in the trillions over multi-generations. We see their hand and we're not following it forward this election cycle. So please help us spread the word. Welcome to the live, David Smith. Drop off seems to be the best choice. They are playing with the mail for sure. Absolutely. Find your nearest polling station and drop off your ballot. Even if I would say get it in early. Check with your general election. What do you call it? The general election offices to find out the rules of the road for your state, for your city. Get that down. Let's get it in and get it done early. Remember all the rules that were described in this show. Share, share, share. Okay, I'm almost down to the end. Okay, Tomas Boer, welcome to the live. He's from my hometown of Dayton, Ohio. Asan Powell, DC Board of Elections. Okay, she put the link for the DC Board of Elections in this live feed. We put other links in there for you, family, so feast on those. Hey, we got a lot more people in the live. Let me go back up. Oh, we're over. Okay, let me just finish these out. I got to get my family some love. They took their time to get over here. Shay Coulter, welcome to the live. Hotep, set the record straight, miss. Thank you. Some family, please know your state's election laws. Do not write in ADOS if you reside in a never state. Some of these never states are swing states, family. Devion Cooper, keep pushing, Angie. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining the live. Tanya Princess Jones, my sister from another Miss Star. What's up? And being blamed for dying disproportionately from COVID-19, she writes. Yep, how dare they? This is what I'm talking about. You cripple us and then blame us. You miseducate us. You rob us of jobs and opportunities. You bring in crack and drugs and guns, and yet lock us up.
Why you keep your children safe? Why you keep your children safe?
And my children safe. Oh, by the way, while your son is a cocaine head, and you made the laws stricter for ADOS who were more on crack. So your
he was smoking crack.
Never have to do. They do crack, but they don't do time.
Yeah, no, they do crack. But his son, his in particular son, was out there smoking crack.
He did do crack.
And he still, and who knows, he might still smoke crack for all we know. But guess what he's doing now? He's at a Fortune 500 company or doing overseas, working at some billion-dollar job, being a crackhead.
Yeah. So how many of us does that happen to? How many crackheads get rehabilitated on that level in the ADOS communities?
Thank you.
Okay. They create the laws. They make you a nigga in the law. Yes. To justify locking you up for profits for prisons, for the new enslavement, while giving themselves a pass on some of the most heinous crimes to children, the country, okay, and their own kids. Like, come on now. This is what is so messed up about all of it, and how they gave us the biggest FU in these two candidates running on this top of ticket. That's the biggest FU to the ADOS and the movement at large.
The
And
biggest.
that's why we need to shut it down and tear it down and burn it down to give it right back to them. Let's trade FUs, okay? Make sure if you are in a write-in state, you know the rules before writing in on the ballot. We must protect our vote. He should have locked up his crackhead son. A son said the same thing. Tanya Princess Jones, hashtag Citigroup owned Obama, did do something for us. Foreclosures. Oh, Citigroup owned Obama. He did do something for us. Foreclosures. We lost 43% of our wealth under Obama, who we placed into office for 2 terms, while he bailed out Wall Street and made a million white millionaires on his watch. Let that sink in. Because he ain't ADOS.
Nope.
He may be black, but he ain't ADOS. And that's why we're putting a gate up around our identity. We don't want to be black. We don't want to be African Americans. It's too flat. You get to roll up Caribbean and African immigrants all up in there.
Yep.
And folks that descend from Brahmin caste and slave owners, all up in there. We want ADOS, American descendant of chattel slavery. Nicole Williams Crimson, I thank you, love, for joining the live. Exactly. Imprisonment is slavery. You can't get blacks to understand that Biden contributed to this proudly and Clinton signed it, then apologized. Tanya Princess Jones, hashtag Citigroup owned Obama, delivered our homes to white capital in the 21st century. Yep. Love y'all, Angela and Tansy. We love you, black and strong, Nicole. Thank you, my love, for joining the live. There's studies on white deindustrialized, hashtag deaths of despair, hashtag vanguards, hashtag government underwritten white supremacy. Come on now, sis, speak that true. I'm almost done, family. I didn't realize all this was at the bottom. I love y'all for joining. And thank you for chatting with us. You guys are my co-hosts. You know that. So I got to read your comments, you know. They're so fun. And they help with the show, the content. Okay, what white people have is legal protection. They have full citizenship. Yeah, that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting to be American while the Democrats are giving immigrants an access and a pathway to citizenship over making us whole. Like, yes. We don't see that. We don't see the trick bag. Get out of here. Tansy, you wrote, if you are in Georgia, please vote for Tamara Johnson Shealy for Congress. She is our ADOS candidate. Thank you. Let me write her site, Tamara for Georgia, because even if you're not in her state, she needs donations. She needs calls. She needs volunteers. Tamara for Georgia. I just put that in the comments. Please vote, 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 and help her get the victory. She's the only ADOS running for the U.S. Congress, repping Georgia, that is full-tested about our reparations and Black agenda.
And you know she's going to go in there. You know she's going to go in there and she's going to be pushing for us and for our Black agenda. She's going to be pushing for reparations. We have to get her in there so that she can represent us. And then she can hold the door open for more of us to come in so that we can go in there and do Project Takeover over the CBC.
Yeah, the entire Congress is what we're pushing for. So please, please, please vote for her, help her, donate, support. I get it. Drop off the ballot. Drop the ballot off works. Yes, Eric. They're setting things up in New York still at the big stadiums. I am dropping off. Wonderful. Wear your mask. I know you will, brother. Stay safe. We're doomed if we don't get busy putting the work. You're right, Nicole. Push our officials and down ballot. You better know it. Lineage First, thank you for joining the live. They ushered the drugs in just as they were reducing federal funding of the HBCUs. You better know it. And they gave affirmative action to white women and immigrants and LGBTQ. We don't benefit from the very affirmative action in place to help remedy us post-slavery. That's done away with for ADOS. Caitlin Spain, we can't get jobs, even with education. I mentioned 44% of the 6% of us down here are educated. Only 6% of us are in the private sector. We cannot get jobs. You're absolutely right. They are cutting us out of everything and tethering us to the bottom as a permanent underclass in the country our ancestors built with their lives. The ADOS movement ain't standing for it. And that's why you see so many efforts to COINTELPRO us and make us out to be xenophobes. Distinction is not division. Come on, YC, that YC fire. Distinction is not division. We've got to distinguish between our incomes and our wealth position for this country to understand why everybody has to get on board with not just Black Lives Matter, but reparations have to matter too, to close that egregious racial wealth gap. You don't give a damn about Black life if you don't give a damn about us getting reparations in the trillions over multi-generations. That's blue, black, white, and green. You don't give a damn if you're not pushing for that reparations and Black agenda alongside us. And stop feeding into the hand of our oppressors who are trying to paint us out to be xenophobes and pro-Trump. Not true. We just have to put a cog in the wheel and stop this Titanic, because ADOS will be the only ones hurt if the Democrats win. We will be the only group. Everyone will go off in the sunset with their bag and all their little goodies in exchange for their vote. And folks are mad with the ADOS movement that we're putting a gate up around our lineage. We're putting a gate up around our reparations. So folks are busy trying to tear us down, but you guys know the truth of who we are. And you guys knew me long before I was a part of this movement. So I thank you for trusting in me and continuing to tune in to get this information and helping to sling bricks in whatever way you can in your respective cities. Lineage First, that happened way back in the 60s and 70s. I'm not sure what you're referring to, my love. Caitlin Spain, can't smoke marijuana because of the depression. I don't know what that means, my love. Because they can't afford it, maybe? You guys have to be a little more specific. I'm running fast. Hashtag 182 billion prison complex. Wow. I agree. If they don't usher, sorry, I jumped too far. If they didn't usher in the drugs and properly funded the HBCUs back then, ADOS would be in a totally different disposition today. Yes and no. What's the word? We have got to get to the place where we start businesses because they're not hiring. So we can see by the number of us that are continuing to become degreed, especially Black women. We have a lot of degrees amongst us, but we can't all get work. So degrees don't make a difference. Economic inclusion is what makes the difference. Guaranteeing jobs makes the difference. Or you are guaranteeing loans for us to open up our businesses. Without loans to start business and without being able to be gainfully employed and without the private sector being made to hire us, it doesn't matter that you're degreed. Go ahead, Tansy.
And don't forget that Ivanka Trump just went, her and her dad, President Trump, just signed some sort of executive order or some sort of a law, whatnot, to make experience the thing that's regarded higher than your degree when it comes down to some jobs. So you don't went out there and got all of these degrees and all of this stuff. And then when you go and to get this job, they tell you that your degree don't mean nothing. We're going to go with Billy because Billy been doing this for his cousin for all these many years. And I know Billy and I don't know you.
The bottom line is white high school dropouts are more gainfully employed than ADOS college degree. So I'm not discouraging you from getting your degree, but understand you've got to have a plan to pay off the degree because there's none for you currently between public and private sectors. They have replaced us with immigrants out here. And I'm sure as goes California, so goes the nation. If it's not happening near you, it's on the way. The New Jim Crow. Yes, read Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. I'm going to put that on my book club list. Caitlin Spain, war on drugs, war on drugs, war on jobs. Yes, ma'am, Miss Caitlin. Let me see, is that it? Oh, Hassan, read the book, The New Jim Crow. Michelle Alexander, Breaking Brown is live now. Bad timing. Sleepy CCS, thank you for joining the live. I know I try to get these shows pushed out before she goes live. We'll be tuning into her next. Hassan, if you want to help in phone banking for Tamara, you can contact info@ados-dmv.com. Also, you can visit her at tamaraforgeorgia.com. I love you, Black and Strong, Tanya. I love all of you, Black and Strong. And with that said, Tansy, I want to thank you for being a guest. We're at an hour 1944. Thank you so much for being willing in a pinch to come do this emergency show with me. Tomorrow, please tune in as we go over the next two presidents from Prejudential. Get your books if you haven't read that. I will be posting about other books. I think I'm going to add New Jim Crow. But as I mentioned prior, please read. Yvette's took my book club idea and she pushed up the date. This was supposed to be mine on October 2nd to have it read. She pushed the date up to September 24th. So get your books and read it, and join Yvette at Breaking Ground on the 24th for this. Also, this needs to be read. It's very big. This is my next book club read on November, the first Friday in November. I'll send it in the chat for you guys. The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson, the same author from Caste. Oh, okay. This one deals with our migration from the South to the West, Midwest, and the East Coast, and the North, post-slavery. And it is fire. So get that read by the first Friday in November. I'm going to do Dr. Darity's book. I'll give you a post for that, and I'm going to add the New Jim Crow. Okay, I love you guys, Black and Strong. I'm going to pray you out. For those of you who don't like prayer, I'll see you tomorrow. But for those of you who want a covering and to be reminded of how awesome you are, I leave you with this, that the light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Wherever ADOS and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until tomorrow, family, you go out here in these streets and act like you know who you are, and you make it a beautiful God-inspired rest of your evening. I love you, Black. I love you, Strong. Good night, Tansy. Good night, family. Thank you. Hold your smile. I'm ending the broadcast.